All right, so we've collected the data, and I showed you guys how to do it for the 100 ohm resistor. We can do the same thing with the 10 ohm resistor just by moving this guy over here, and then we click record and it works the same way. So when you guys are looking at the data, you'll see both graphs, but I'm not going to go through the process of showing it to you. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the next part. And so this is at the beginning of page 46. And so the key is that at this point, we've been measuring the voltage across the capacitor. And what we want to do now is we want to see how that compares to the voltage across the resistor. So what I have to do is I have to add a new page. So I'm going to go up here to Workbook and do Add Page. And so now I have page 3. So going through the instructions here, it tells me to select this guy from my shortcuts to create 2 graphs. I click on here and I add a graph, and then I have to go over and select what's on it. So it tells me to display voltage for the capacitor versus time. So let me set up my circuit before I do this to make sure everything's in the right place. Okay, so here is my channel A. This is going to be my capacitor voltage like it was before, but now I'm going to measure another channel, so I get another patch cable. I plug this guy in to channel B, and I'm going to connect this one across the 10 ohm resistor. So I want to maintain the appropriate polarity here, so I want the upstream end to be red and the downstream end to be black. If I flip these, it would flip the sign of my graph. All right, so everything is set up and ready to go to take data, but we got to set up our graphs first. All right, so now what I want to do is select measurement, and I want to do voltage channel A, that's the capacitor, and I want it to be versus time. So I put this down here, and let me go ahead and get rid of this. It's showing an old data run, and so I can get rid of that guy because I don't need to be looking at any data. I'm going to collect new data. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to create another y-axis. So I click this guy, and now I can do 2 different measurements. So the left side is still going to be my capacitor voltage, and the right side I am going to make my output voltage. And again, I'll go on here and tell it to stop showing data. Okay, so I've got a blank graph that's set up and ready to collect data, and it's going to put both the capacitor voltage and the output voltage on the graph. So now I go down here and I do the same thing, except this time I select channel B because that's going to be my resistor voltage. I didn't have anything plugged into channel B, so this old data set is just going to be junk. So that's why we're getting rid of it. I go, it's by default on time, so I don't have to change my x-axis, but I add my second guy, output voltage, and again, you'll see some data pop up, and I will get rid of it. Okay, so now everything should be ready to collect data. I can put a title here just to remind myself. This is the resistor voltage versus time, and this is my capacitor. Okay, so now that everything is set up here, I'm ready to take some data. So again, I have my circuit set up, and I do my record data, and everything is smushy, so I do this, and I do, this to auto scale them both. All right, so now what we're looking at is